G'day, Native Bee Nick from Australiannativebee.com. Today I'd like to talk to you about a superfood, and that is stingless bee honey. I scratch my head time and time again and wonder why there hasn't been an industry born from this honey. It's an incredible superfood and super unpromoted. So today I'd like to draw some key differences between Manuka honey and stingless bee honey. Now, we all know about Manuka honey, and that's because the Manuka industry is a multi-million-dollar industry. There's a lot of people with vested interest in the Manuka honey, but a lot of people don't really know what's special about Manuka. So for those people who don't know, I'll explain that. Now, Manuka has antibacterial properties without the use of a peroxidative effect. That means the honey straight out of the jar on a wound will actually kill bacteria. Now, when I talk about peroxidative effect, let's go back to normal table honey. Normal table honey, when you sort of bring the moisture of normal table honey sort of above 25-30% to about 40%, the honey starts to have a peroxidative effect, and we all know what peroxide does. It eats everything. It's almost like a bleach. So that's when you hear sort of the old stories of farmers and stuff using honey on their horses' wounds and things like that to heal their livestock. What they're doing is they're putting the honey on the wound. When the honey touches the wound, the honey is hygroscopic by nature, which means it wants to draw in moisture. It sucks all the moisture into the honey, and that brings the honey moisture level up, and the honey begins to have a peroxidative effect. So Manuka does have that effect, and actually in hospitals, when they use patches and stuff on where they put a cannula in, Manuka patches, they actually activate the honey first, so it does have that peroxidative effect. But on its own, it has a antibacterial effect. And the reason why it has that is bees visit a particular variety of tree. Now, that tree is called Leptospermum. We call it jellybush by the common name, or the beekeepers call it jellybush. And when the honeybee goes to that bush, it collects a chemical from the flower called dihydroxyacetone. Now, dihydroxyacetone is taken back to the beehive, and on a 1 to 2 year period, it converts into a chemical called methyl glyoxal, and that's where you get your MgO rating. And methyl glyoxal gives Manuka its antibacterial properties. Stingless bees, they're a little bit different. Stingless bees are classed as resin bees, and that means that when they go out, they collect a lot of propolis. Now, propolis by definition is plant material mixed with beeswax, and the bees bring that back to the hive. They mix it all up, and they build their honey pots out of it. And when they store their honey in the honey pot, a lot of those propolis properties infuse the honey. And so we get a lot of propolis properties within the stingless bee honey. And we all know that propolis is a super product in itself. So that's what makes stingless bee honey really special. Now, some of the properties that that honey has is it's full of flavonoids and phenolic compounds. Now, flavonoids are found in nature. They're found all over the place. They're I guess, plant chemicals, and they have some really special effects. They're anti-inflammatory, antiviral. They have anti-cancer properties, and so they just have a really sort of internal healing effect to them. And you can find flavonoids in a lot of our vegetables, in berries, in kale, in all the superfoods that we like to eat already. They have flavonoids in there. Now, phenolic compounds are same sort of thing, compounds, natural compounds. When we talk about compounds, people think, oh, that's chemicals or whatever. They're natural compounds found in nature. And they have, phenolic compounds have bioactive properties to them, and they have health protective benefits. So when you ingest stingless bee honey, it actually works with your whole system to heal you internally, whereas Manuka is more of a wound healing honey. If you ingest Manuka in large quantities, say 200 ml a day, every single day, you'll end up with diabetes. So that's the key difference here between Manuka and stingless bee honey. Stingless bee honey is a complex matrix of flavonoids and phenolic compounds, and it really is a body healing honey. Now in Australia, we don't really talk about these properties much, and we certainly don't sell the honey as a medicinal honey like I've heard a lot of people do around the world. Australia seems to be a little bit behind in what we do with our products, so that's why we really haven't seen a market born from our stingless bee honey. So I just thought I would make this little video to help everybody understand sort of key differences between Manuka and stingless bee honey. And yeah. Oh, one other thing I really wanted to talk about is a study that some Australian, well, several scientists did in 2010 on stingless bee honey. Now, they took 11 samples from 11 different tetragonula carbonaria hives, and what they did is they did a time kill test. So they got basically agar jars. They inoculated the jars with different bacteria, not just your normal backyard bacteria, but dangerous things like staphylococcus. And then they dropped some stingless bee honey in there. Now, 2 of these particular bee samples they took them from all over the city, but 2 of them in particular showed that stingless bee honey was really effective. And those 2 particular honeys killed, out of the 32 different bacteria, they killed 31 of the bacteria. The only one they didn't kill is Candida, and that's because Candida, as we all know, feeds off sugar, and honey does have a large sugar component to it. So I just wanted to put that in there just to tell everyone how super stingless bee honey is. And there you go. So I'm Native Bee Nick. If you like my videos, and please subscribe. Come to my website, Australiannativebee. I've got a new online beekeeping course for stingless beekeepers there called Beeversity. Thank you very much.